Yo, what's good in the web? This is your man Q, aka the Geek, back again, and it's been 125 weeks, probably around that actually, since the last time I decided to do a podcast. And you know what? What had happened was I be wanting so much, but you gotta just do it like Nike sometimes. Like for real, for real. Sometimes you just gotta just do it like Nike. And I decided, let me go back to, well, what the essence of what a podcast really is. And that's basically just getting online with just the audio and just talking for, I don't even say a nauseum, a long amount of time. And that way, because see, how I listen and I digest my podcast is I usually listen to like a sports podcast or something like when I'm working out, or what I'll do is I'll catch up on the Spawn Wave, or when the homie OJ used to have one back in the day. I used to, watch them, and or HPMP, Joe Rogan. You get the point. When you're working out or when you're getting ready to go to sleep, or if you driving X, Y, and Z, that's what I want this to be, where you don't necessarily have to be watching. Because see, my problem is, seriously, I be wanting to put that extra into so much, and cut scenes, jumps, and everything else. But at the heart and soul of it, let's just talk about these games. Let's dibble dabble with a little of the anime and a little bit of, some other stuff that's going on. And I will sprinkle in a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of anime. Of course, always with the comedy. That's what Geek stand for: gaming, entertainment, anime, and comedy. Mainly because, well, we see it all the time, and I'm always been saying this for years. YouTube might not reward it because you have to niche down all the way to only one topic. But generally, if a person is into any of the geekdoms, one of the major four geekdoms, whether that's like comics, anime, video games, science fiction or fantasy, stuff like that, they're usually susceptible to either play games. Like a lot of people who play games watch anime. And I always wanted to bridge all of those together. And look, 5 something years, I don't know how long it took me from being stubborn to finally, niche all the way down. Let's say that variety channels don't work. But what I will do, what I'm saying with the podcast, because how can I not talk about Miles Morales just a little bit? How can I not talk about the Black Mermaid? When I'm always talking about black characters matter, how can I not just, sprinkle a little of that stuff there? We still gonna get in the meat and the potatoes of what, the channel is, them RPGs. And, we gotta. I will jump and put a little, well, you probably seen it now. It's just some gameplay in the backdrop, cut it up, work it up, shop, but not too much. See, that's the problem. See? Because I'm already thinking about doing another overlay for this. The idea is to do this every Sunday, which would help me wrap up all the other loose ends that I'm not able to do, because sometimes I bulk my videos, or I have like pre videos. But y'all don't need to know. Y'all don't care nothing about what's going on behind the scenes. You want to talk about them video games, that meat and potatoes, that Zelda and that Final Fantasy 16, that Final Fantasy 7, the Rebirth with all the multiple timelines got me feeling like it's Zelda mixed with Kingdom Hearts. The Summer Game Fest, which I only cared about like 1 or 2 games, honestly, out of it. But before we go any further in the web, if you're new to the channel and you do want to stay up to date and you do like them RPGs and them games, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to like. It lets YouTube know that people watching the channel and they like the content that they see, and it helps reach more people. Like, it really does help. I ain't begging y'all, but I'm, if you like it, subscribe, like, please. Well, the first thing I have to talk about is that Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom And I know I'm way, way, way back on the late freight when it comes to talking and discussing about Legend of Zelda. I said Zelda. What the hell I say Zelda for? Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And the reason why is because I knew it was going to be a time sink. And the way my backlog and everything else is, I didn't really necessarily have the time to delve into 200 hours plus or something on a game. And then, you know, a lot of people, y'all ain't gonna like when I say this, and never had a few people come at me already with pitchforks, but it's cool. You know, I love y'all, man. I love Zelda too. You heard me just say 200 hours, but Tears of the King ain't got no story. Let me say it again. Tears of the King ain't got no story. And yeah, they got a story, but you know what I mean. Like coming off of Xenoblade and or Final Fantasies and or Fire Emblems and or Nier and or other RPGs, and Zelda's an RPG. And even if it's you don't want to categorize Zelda as an RPG, it is a game that feels like it should have a story. Where that's what they tried to sell us like it has a story. Now I get it. I seen the timelines. I done videos on it. I talked about it. I've been on podcasts about it. I ain't trying to fight nobody. I'm just saying I love me some Zelda, but I want more. You know when you, you know when you cupcake and you talking to somebody like, you know what I'm saying, I'm trying to highlight this little cutie or something. You know, just talk to somebody, right? And you start talking to them, and you get your little text every now. You know, you're going back and forth, man. Meme now and again. Y'all get on the phone or whatever, or you FaceTime. Like people don't really like to talk no more, but you just hypothetical. I'm just giving y'all, and you talking right, and you get off the phone. You're like, shit. I wish I could, talk to you a little bit more, Just, let me holler at you. That's kind of how I feel with Zelda. We've got the gameplay, and the gameplay is excelente. The gameplay is so good that that's why I only have like 10, 15 hours into the game because, again, I didn't want to spend 200 hours on a game. Right now, Final Fantasy XVI is about to drop, and Final Fantasy XVI, by all estimations, may go under the radar. I know that's crazy to say that Final Fantasy XVI could go under the radar, but there is that game we was just talking about, which is Tears of the Kingdom. That is a behemoth, and I'm not gonna say Final Fantasy 16 is gonna be overshadowed by Tears of the Kingdom, but Final Fantasy 16 needs to show up and show out a lot, in my opinion. Not only when it comes to story, but when it comes to its gameplay and mechanics, and going back to some of the lore of the Sakagachi Final Fantasies from days of old. And I know, I'm not gonna go and rehash and cry you a river like I'm Justin Timberlake. But I said Timberlake. But I'll get into more Final Fantasy later. Um, Back to the whole essence of Zelda in itself is one of the reasons why I'm not particularly a big fan of open world games. Why I haven't even touched Elden Ring, and I had the opportunity to get Elden Ring or get Triangle Strategy. And the main reason why, maybe it's a me thing and it's my own OCD, it's my own, I need to make up a word for it, questionist or whatever, I don't know, some kind of like neurological situation that's in my head that makes me have to do everything and get every quest, talk to every character, light a candle, put some incense on, get some sage if you ain't got no incense, pour a glass of wine, make sure that Marley is chilled, and play the game. So I like to do all these things, when I'm playing the game. And one of the caveats or the things that I like the most when I'm doing it that feels rewarding is when I have a story or some kind of something tangible. And I was just talking to a homeboy about this. Matter of fact, a couple days ago, because he just got into the Zelda series, like for real, the Zelda series, and I'm like, bro, like honestly, Breath of the Wild is amazing because he's starting with Breath of the Wild first. and he picked up Tears of the Kingdom when he started with Breath of the Wild first. And I'm like, that's a good choice. You didn't have to do that, but I understand, I got that kind of, mindset where I want to go and play 1 and 2 before I play 3 and 4. Sometimes it's depending on the game. Like I played Like a Dragon, like Yakuza Like a Dragon. That was my first Yakuza game, and I played that. Was it 2021 into 21, 22? And that's actually, if that's not one of my favorite games, it's damn near close to it. It's penetrating the top 10 list. Like it's up there. Because and I had like damn near 200 hours into that game. But there was story elements and things that made me want to keep going on, which goes to the whole open world games. And I love the idea and the the imagination behind these open world games where you can just go to the Fire Kingdom right off if you want to, or you can go to the Water Temple, or you can go to, the Wind Place in the sky and get these type of rare items and fight these particular enemies and stuff like that. But for me personally, I want to know that when I'm doing it, I'm I'm getting something other than just a reward of I just got a new item. Like, did I do this for that person in the story? Or what is the central story's quest? What is the main mission? What's my purpose here? You know what I'm saying? What am I striving for? I like simulation games or building games, but I know that those games are what those games are about. But it's very hard sometimes for me to um, jump so far into a game, especially when I'm playing a few other games at the same time too. When I know it's going to be a time sink, when I don't really have a general, where it's not really a general direction of where I'm going. And I've seen everybody and their grandmama out here playing Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it's it's the best damn game out right now, and everything else has pretty much been overshadowed. It was the month of May, and it is has leaked over to June. But another thing that open world games do is by you not having a linear story or a main plot like Skyrim, which it did, but it wasn't anything that was like you wanted to write home to mama. It's just, well, at least for me, it just feels hollow and empty. And that's one of the reasons that I wasn't a big fan of Skyrim, even though the music was great, and didn't want to play Elden Ring and other games like that. Or I was never really interested in the Dark Souls. And I'd have a whole bunch of friends that are in love with it, and people always want to suggest Dark Souls to me. And it's not that I'm scared of a game with difficulty. Like, I'm an OG, triple OG gamer, but it's not even that. It's just that from what I've seen and heard, I need more meat. I need more substance to keep going on with the story. And I need party members. One of the reasons that I love role playing games the most is my favorite genre is the fact that when you're playing a role playing game, you're going on a journey, and part of the journey or part of just living life just in the IRL in the real world is meeting friends and learning new experience and stuff. And when I'm playing a game in a fantasy based world, that's what I want to do. I don't want to have to hire somebody and they don't tag along during the mission, or I'm just walking around damn near 150 hours mute, MUTE, not being able to talk or eh, look. Link's never gonna talk. I understand. I get it. The only how we're gonna get a Link talking is he's going to be talking inside of a movie, and hopefully when they do make this, Nintendo does give the go ahead for them to make this Zelda movie, which has the possibility to be better than the Mario movie, and they probably could even explain the story better, because they can make it more concise in one pool of things in one area rather than like tie all the loose ends up, even some of them in the backdrop with some Easter eggs and other stuff. Y'all know how these movies and media be going. This ain't saying nothing new to y'all. And hopefully they do some of the old school Zelda trope things and stuff, and definitely from the cartoon. Um, Excuse me, princess. They have to say that. It would. They know that that is a popular phrase, even if they didn't coin it. Who did that? Geek was I can't remember who did that cartoon, but I just remember that we used to come on every Friday. Um, which was cool. Which was cool. That's when Nintendo. I can't say Nintendo still ain't ruling shit, but that's when Nintendo was out here doing that thing, like for real. But the reason why also that I didn't jump so far into Tears of the Kingdom is because, well, for all the reasons I was just saying, but also because of the fact that Tears of the Kingdom just felt just like I've been there and I've done that. And while all of the mechanics were more fleshed out, as well as the graphics, which is funny, the game runs better than Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild came out, you know, a long time ago, 2017 now, 5 years ago, on 6 years ago, and Tears of the Kingdom looks better and is in the OLED ain't that much beefier than the OG Switch, which I did burn out. Triangle Strategy killed my Triangle Strategy actually killed my Switch, my OG Switch last year, or my black ass would not have bought another Switch. I love my folks, all my friends, contemporaries. You know, I just only have two Switches, and I only have two Switches because the OG one broke. The good thing about the OG one though is I modded that Joker, so all the characters that I did want on Smash Brothers that didn't make it, Gino, Isaac, I can actually play with, and some people have really went so far to do voice acting, and everything, and switch Impa up with Sheik, which I like better because I never was a big fan of Sheik and Zelda splitting up. Nintendo has this thing with females characters. I don't know. Oh well, Samus has a game. Yeah, it took Samus 20 damn years to almost get another game. She hadn't had a game since the GameCube or what other M, which I like other M, and everybody damn near wanted to boycott other M. But I'm not talking about just a Game Boy game because I'm talking about like a console game. I know Dread dropped, but I I want to see that I want to see an open world game. I think that would fit to me, in my opinion, just as good or better as an open world game than um, Zelda does. Along with women, Nintendo doesn't allow their characters to talk, which I whatever. I look, I can't even get my words right. The fact that Animal Crossing characters um, talk more than freaking the characters in their main IPs is pretty ridiculous, to be real with you. But I can see again that Samus being or Metroid being an open world game, being able just being in space, and then you can have it where, like, okay, I'm not saying that my idea is law because I'm just like, look, I'm an aspiring indie dev, so I'm not out here telling these because it's not easy to make video games. But if you're already in the business and got the establishment inside of the industry, then you know it's a copycat league. And not just in sports. I'm not gonna get no sports. I know. I won't get no sports. That's like oil and water with trying to mix geek with sports, which they're so close together. But the point I'm getting at is Xenoblade Chronicles is like an open world game. The only thing that separates it is you are going on a linear path where you have a set story that you have to get to. If they change that up, if the new Xenoblade comes out, Xenoblade 4, right? And Xenoblade 4 comes out and they decide that you can go to whatever area you want first, like how you do in Zelda, and get items and stuff or pieces of the story. Like you have a central story, but you're getting pieces, like you got to go and fight a particular boss each time. Then I feel that that would work out really well for Xenoblade if they were to do that. Well, they don't have to, but the point is, what I'm getting at is Xenoblade is like a open world game in itself. And through the quest and just the huge exploration of the game is what I feel that makes it like an open world game. Because especially the first one, um I don't know why, but Rex's his game kind of gets lost in translation. Like one of the homegirls, she was not a fan with it. She kind of like, said it the best. I didn't even think about it in that way. She said, I'm really not interested in these just these big titty blades. That's basically the whole game. And I was like, basically it is like that. I wasn't a big fan of Pyra. In battle, she's good, but I wasn't. I was just like, she was cool. But once I start getting into that story a little more, I was like, but anyway, I'm gonna go down the whole back down Xeno lane. I was trying to get that Xenoblade has a lot of open world elements and just how big the world is with the exploration. And I was coining that before Breath of the Wild came out as the Japanese Skyrim, because they took the best of the Western RPGs like Elden Ring, and then not Elden Ring because Elden Ring wasn't even thought of then. What was the other one that came on Xbox? Morrowind 3, and then they took those elements like that, or Fallout, and they took those Western elements, and then they put the Eastern, the Japanese elements, with the turn-based battle systems and the point systems and things like that. And my point is, I'm getting all that to say is, I just felt that Zelda could have did more in that element, where yes, it's an open world game, but I love the gameplay that you're giving me. However, I would like to see Zelda do more than pretty much just get captured again. My theory is Zelda and Peach is both getting clapped by Ganondorf and Bowser. Ain't no way Peach is continuously getting. This chick gets, how you get captured every weekend. You getting my G Mario, bro. Listen, Mario, if he stay his ass up off them shrooms, he might can see the forest for the trees. Bowser got a castle. He got enough coinage to have a whole army. He is King Koopa. He is Bowser. He is a dragon. So that can be a little scary. But Peach always up. Peach go to Bowser's house more than she go to Mario's. Mario live in the sewer. Mario's a plumber. And ain't nothing wrong with a blue collar plumber job. But, I mean, bruh, you really trying to holler at a princess, or you not trying to holler at a princess, because the princess ain't giving you. It's been since 1985, player. It's almost 40 years, bro. I think you better let it go. I think it's time for a Peach TKO. Bruh, you out here chewing up, smoking up shrooms, you and your little brother, who, we don't even want to get on Luigi. He got an issue with poltergeists and vacuum cleaners. Y'all out here high off them shrooms and ain't paying attention that every weekend at the same time, all of a sudden Peach phone go black. All of a sudden she stopped answering text messages. All of us, come on, bro. All right. All right, Mario. And it ain't too much different from Link. Link had been through 20, 30, 40 different timelines. And my dude is still in an open world. He just roaming around. Like, this chick, if Zelda is the Triforce of Wisdom, why the hell she ain't wise enough to stop getting caught up in Ganondorf schemes? Like, you didn't remember what went down last game? Your ancestors, your previous self didn't pre-warn you that the power of the Triforce was coming for you? Like, seriously? Like, for real? Like, we get it. Ganondorf's is power. Link's is courage. I guess, the argument or the pushback on that could be, regarding Zelda, is the fact that she's wise when she's in another realm and she can do technology and learn different things and she's curious. But chick, nah, man. Nah. Well, at least she ain't in Ganondorf's house. Like, I don't know what Ganondorf's issue is. He just, I don't know. He just one of them dudes, somebody who just want to holler he just want to take somebody, girl, just to say he did it. It ain't necessary, Ganon. Ganondorf, it ain't necessary for you to be acting ugly like that, bro. Like, seriously, look. You ain't got to do nothing like that. I know Link popular, but you ain't got to do nothing like that. But for real, I put in Tears of the Kingdom, y'all. I'm playing the game, and I'm already looking at the world, and while I'm sitting here looking at the world, I'm like, damn, this is such a huge open world, and I'm just stuck on Tutorial Island. I'm just stuck on Tutorial Island, needing to go back and do stuff like a dumbass going back, and I'm like, oh my. And I started recording it for the archives, for the video series, the Let's Play, and I started recording it right in these, I had it on, for me, just 1080, and them damn things, them files was hefty for a Switch game. I was like, damn, if I put 150 some hours, close to 200 hours, between 150 and 200 into Xenoblade 3, and put about 150, 200 into Breath of the Wild, I'm scared what I'm gonna be doing with Tears of the Kingdom. Matter of fact, I've been playing it a little bit at night. I only got off of Tutorial Island. I'm in Hyrule now, but I streamed it last night. Well, not last night, the other night. I streamed it, right, and over on Twitch. If y'all just want to follow Under the Geek Show, shameless plug. Since Twitch seems to have been retract on some of the shit that he was saying that was gonna do before, because they was crazy. How you gonna take all our money? I thought I was gonna have to come to YouTube again and stream, which I still might do a little bit. We'll see how that go. But it took me, I'm sitting there 30, 40 minutes trying to build a car. Couldn't get the wheels to roll. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go on to the story, or at least to the yellow marker, to the destination that's for me. But while I'm doing all that, and when I was on Tutorial Island, I had this sinking feeling in the back of my head. And that sinking feeling was, I've did this before. How many times has Zelda fell victim to some type of shit? How many times have Zelda got captured or lost? And it's just like, even the people that you do get a chance to talk to in the game, they just kind of like, oh, y'all were gone again. Y'all are gone again. I'm not a fan of having to go and, piece up my story, find a lost gem of hidden story through memories of time and crystals. Because I still didn't go back and get all the memories from Breath of the Wild. And the reason why, if I had like 200 something hours or damn near 200 hours into the game without getting all the memories, then damn it. Again, could just be a me thing, but I don't think it's just a me thing. A lot of people are wrapped up into Breath of the Wild. I will say, though, which I find is funny, and I'm not, I hate when people say this. Honestly, I'm jumping into different subjects here, but y'all follow with me. We still on the same ballpark. I find it funny. A lot of people say, I don't like to compare games to one another. I don't like comparing games. Don't compare games. Don't compare part 1 to part 2. Don't compare this. Well, you can't compare Nintendo to PlayStation. You can. Like, one of the oldest and most common forms of just being a human is, the form of competition or comparison, especially when we're living in a society as well. Not everybody can go and drop $70, 76, 50 or 69 California state tax on these newer games. You have to compare what the other one did. Say if you can only get Call of Duty or Zelda. Like, remember what you love Call of Duty. Remember how the last one might have been? But then again, Zelda, you get my point what I'm saying. So I hate when people say, "Oh, you can't compare games." Well, I ain't gonna say I hate. That's such a strong word. It just kind of irritates me when people say you can't compare games or you can't compare certain things like that. And I'm just like, well, why can't you? That's the whole thing. Like the whole market, everything is set where one game is going to be better than another. Just like one team in sports is going to be better than another. One movie, if they can all coexist, but you know, like one Mario game is better than another Mario game. That's why some people like Mario 64 and other people like Sunshine. But I don't even know what the main part I was getting to go to all of that. Probably to say that, oh, yeah, I know what I was going to say. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, while it's still popular, it's not as talked about as much as Elden Ring was last time this year. Elden Ring held it down for what felt like. Think back, y'all. Don't come at me with the pitchforks. Write pitchforks in the chat. Don't do that. Well, you can if you want to comment. Appreciate you. Thank you. But they held it down for a few months. Again, Tears of the Kingdom is still gonna probably be 9 times out of 10. It's pretty much probably gonna be the game of the year. Which is one of the reasons I think that Nintendo pushed it back. I was listening or reading one of the interviews. Forgot who said it. I think it was the creator. I might have been the creator. Somebody that was working on Zelda or Tears of the Kingdom was saying that the reason why they wanted to make sure that everything was ironed out and that it runs better than a lot of PS5 games, even though it's on the Switch, and that they wanted to make sure it hammer out everything. I think you just didn't want to get caught up with Elden Ring or God of War personally, because remember we thought God of War was gonna steal it. There was only a few people who really said, "Oh yeah, Elden Ring got a chance. Elden Ring got a chance." But even it's a game too. It's video game politics. Well, I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, seriously, look, there's the comparison and the competition right there. Look at the award shows of comparisons right there. Who wins game of the year? You got to go through what's got the best gameplay, what's got the best graphics. So yeah, but I prove my own point by talking to my own self while talking with y'all, but y'all just listening, but I can hear myself. Think about that. Think about that. I would though, like I was saying, to start wrapping up this Zelda open world discussion is, I do like the game. I already know from that it is a few Easter eggs and subjects that I should pick and choose and go to within Tears of the Kingdom to find out more about the lore. But I'm just gonna be playing. I'm taking my time. That's gonna be one of my streaming games, and this my toilet games, and one of my game. I wash my hands, and one of my games I play before I go to sleep. And the Switch, you gotta have them moisty wipes. Don't be nasty. Get them wipes. Ones with disinfected. Don't be nasty. Be nasty. But I really would like to actually see more from Link. Doesn't have to talk, but at least can we get 15 minutes with Zelda? I know that sounds real nasty, but let me get 15 minutes with Zelda, please. Like, can we just get 15 minutes with Zelda while she's in the castle doing something, and maybe she has to solve some puzzles or something, and or we can get like Mifa, or we can get some other what's her name, what is her name from I'm gonna have to look it up because I hate when I don't remember. What is her name? The Gerudo female, the guardian. What is her name? What is her name? What is her name? What the hell do I know I know if y'all knew, you while you're listening to me tirelessly look it up. I can't remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the new. I'm talking about the big chick. That's a huge chick. That's a huge chick. What is her name? Okay, forget it. I'm not. You know who I'm talking about. We can get her, the bird. We can get Agoro. Can we get someone else that we can use their skills with them or follow Link? He doesn't, as a party member, they don't even have to do anything. Maybe just tag along, just something, you know. I know we have Epona, but we always have some kind of version of Epona ever since Ocarina of Time, which it feels like. Um, but just something to add another depth or another layer to a story or a game that we get it. Your gameplay is excelente. It's simply the best. It's some of the best. Now when I be playing other games, open world games, I was playing what game was I playing? Forspoken. I'm trying to climb up a damn tree and realize, or climb up a mountain and realize, oh, okay, I can, parkour over this. But I cannot. I can't climb it. I can't climb it. What I would do, and I've said this before, I would do some kind of different, like I would still keep Zelda the way it is a little bit if I was writing it or had a story, something like that. But I know Ganon became a heartthrob this time. I would make him even more of a heartthrob type. And then I will make him like want to marry Zelda. And in one timeline he does. And the reason why he's doing that is because of the fact that he wants to have more male children, because, with his race, they only have one male every 100 years. And then he wants to be able to pass his lineage on and then have somebody to be able to do something, some kind of King the Conqueror multiverse, even though everybody seems to be doing the multiverse kind of thing, which we're going to get into in the Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Zelda, crazy ass timeline. But see, the difference between Zelda and Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy's timeline with Zelda is the story was actually in Kingdom Hearts, and there was also story actually in Final Fantasy. And again, leave the pitchforks in the chat, but you ain't in the comments, but you ain't gotta come after me in real life with the pitchforks. I love Zelda too. You can love something and still critique it. Let's be adults here. You can like something but still not agree with it. You can love somebody, be like, you know what, baby, you smack. And that shit get on my nerve. I can't stand smacking. But for real, you can love something or like something, In my resume, I love some Zelda. But I want to see more. I want to see more from the story. I want to see just a little bit more to match with that excellent gameplay, because if I was to rate it now, I wouldn't give Zelda. I know I haven't. Don't run at me. See 100% of the story, but I'd say from what I played, it's a 8 or a 9. And I only got like 10, 15 hours. So my word is grain of salt at the moment. But like I said, it feels like for me, I've been there, done that, and I'm gonna take my time on it. I'm gonna take my time on it because I'm not missing nothing. I ain't heard nobody say no real spoiler. I heard somebody say one like thing and like, oh, okay, that's what happens to that person. But as far as any like Eric dying type thing, or some kind of catastrophe, some kind of plot twist story that you don't want nobody to know because it's such, not even like on a level of Twilight Princess, or not even like on a level of Sheik being Zelda, which I found out a lot of people didn't know about that in 2 Smash Brothers. No kind of secret like that. Like that was the last time I was like, ooh, when it came to my Zeldas in one story. I'm not talking about having to go get the wiki. I'm not talking about the wiki. And just speaking of like Forspoken in games that I've been playing, like I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I hadn't been playing that many games, or let me say this, let me rewind it or rephrase it a different way. The reason why since I hadn't been playing Zelda, since I haven't been playing Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, I have to substitute this time for some other games. Well, I didn't have to substitute this time. I probably could have went and, watched some more movies or caught up on some series and stuff. I still have yet to watch The Last of Us, the HBO series. And I got HBO. It ain't that, even though they had switched to Max or some other crazy stuff. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing. What? Yeah, I do. It's money, but I don't understand why they got like 10 things Max, Go, no Joe Flo. I don't know. I wasn't trying to rhyme on that one right there, but I have been playing Children of the Zodiac, which is on sale for the Switch. I went through some series of videos for this month, and I was looking for like more black protagonists in RPGs. And well, you may have guessed it. It ain't that many. Dramatic pause on purpose. It ain't that many. However, there is a few out there. There's a couple. They even have black characters in it. There is a couple, and Children of the Zodiac is one. And I had it on my wish list a long time ago, and I was supposed to be doing a video or something a long time ago for it as well. And what happened was it was a price I didn't want to pay at the time because, again, the backlog. But the game is like, I think it came out 2020, 2021, something like that. I could be wrong on the date. But it's like between $3 to $5. Like, it's super cheap now. And the game is fun. The game is like a dice-based game, Dungeon and Dragons strategy dice based. So you have cards and then you roll dice or die, you know how you want to call them. And I'm black, I'm them dice, all them crap. Now I don't we don't condone. Well, gambling is legal everywhere, but yeah, just not everywhere. Anyway, back before I get myself in trouble. It's 2023. You chew. But the game is pretty cool. Most of the characters, all the characters is black on the game that I've seen so far, except some of not all the characters, which is not really generally just focusing on that either. In the animation and stuff, I only got a few hours into it, but from what I played, I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. I don't know what's going to happen down the line, but you can't beat $5 for a game like that. The quality of the game looks really good for it. And so, of course, I started playing. Well, I hadn't been playing Forspoken, but I started playing Forspoken, and I really fell in love with Forspoken. And unfortunately, it got a bad rap. Frey, she do talk a lot of shit. She says the F-bomb in awkward times. I didn't think her, like, I know some females from New York, and it's a certain accent that they have, a certain moxie, a certain demeanor. If y'all can see, I'm out here like squaring up. It's like a certain demeanor. She had that at times. And then they even kind of made her too. They kind of downgraded the actress. I forgot her name, who did Frey. She's a model. She's like a British model. She's beautiful. That girl is bad. And they kind of like made her a little dustier on the actual game, which was crazy. Why would you do that? You didn't have to. I know Frey had like a rough and tumble life and stuff, but the story is nothing spectacular for like a type of open world game, or it's still a point A to point B, because you have central places or story plots or points you need to go to, but there's so many side quests, and I don't think I haven't discovered any mini games. I got about 15 hours or so into the game. I haven't discovered any mini games or any thing like that. Oh, they do have these trials that you're able to do and stuff in the game, but the game isn't that bad. Once you get to a certain part where you are able to unlock more abilities, I'm gonna say probably about 8 to 10 hours in the game, then the game really starts to open up, and you're able to mix and match different spells and stuff, and then the game becomes really good. I've been recording a lot of these games and stuff for the archives. I don't know if you want throwing up the archives, but I've been excited, y'all, and this is just a little mini segue about just doing these let's plays and stuff, and cutting them and stuff the way I've been doing them. So keep a lookout for that. That's going to return on Saturdays. I'm looking to have that return probably in July, I'm thinking. If not July, that's what I would like it to do. But we're going to see. I will make sure I keep y'all posted, and I will definitely have trailers and stuff like that. So we got some updates and stuff coming, just as well as And I know I just did like a mini. I did a mini sponsored by Geek. Sponsor myself. Drum roll, please. But I want it to be where it's a video every day. Boom, 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 and it's quality. Quality stuff. So, this one's gonna be a little rough, so y'all gotta forgive me. This is gonna be the rough edition of this because it's the first one of its format where we go in this audio with gameplay format. Even though I did this was my original podcast. When I first started YouTube, and I just titled it as it, is it now with Geek Talk, and yeah. So I'm excited to come back. I'm to do this just to talk, and I will have some people on as well. So hopefully that's going to be easier for people to have guests because like I said before, everybody's adults. We're all, it's hard sometimes to get people on a certain day or a certain thing, especially live, and so expect the unexpected. So more to come, y'all. Sorry I had to do the little deviation. Sponsored by, well, I ain't sorry, Geek. But I'm gonna segue from Forspoken because I just wanted to briefly touch into because it made me feel this way, and that's why I had these stories kind of tied together. Is because, of course, I think that Frey and the whole situation got a bad rap because, well, Frey's a black woman. The game ain't nothing extra dextra about different than the rest of the series. She do talk a lot of shit. Like I said, she cuss, and that's awkward. But the game is, like, honestly, it's just a C plus. It's an average base game. I think that it caught because of it's somebody that's got a clip and they seen how the clip was of her talking the slang and what she was saying to sound weird. Like some of the stuff she says, it's like they caught it at a bad moment. Some of the little shots that she go back for, or her and Cuff, they have like a good relationship. And then with the way that they have like a good 1-2, when you're going back and forth with each other. And sometimes she'll hit like a certain point or a certain joke right at that proper time when it was supposed to happen. So I wasn't completely cringe from that. I didn't understand why they made her so tall. She's 5'10". Not that really, really matters. But I was like, when you seen her initially, I was thinking 5'5", 5'6" from the trailers and stuff. But then she like towers over a lot of people in the game, which is also good because it shows the proportions and everything in the game are good. I think it's on sale. I suggest getting it. It's not as bad as everybody's saying it is, but catch it on sale. You can squeeze it in. I think it's like 12 chapters. I'm like on chapter 8 to 8 or 9 or something like that. So you can, if you want to, make it a 20-hour game. But I've enjoyed myself. I wasn't expecting it to be Final Fantasy 16 or anything, but I wanted to segue, like I said, from that to Black Ariel. And what I wanted to say about that, so this is going to just be a short snippet. And I love the Bailey sisters. I love them. And they out here been doing their thing for a long time. And I love to see all the little black girls and be able to look up to Ariel and visualize something that they weren't able to, that they could see now. Because again, that's why before I start getting the jeers, it's because of the fact, excuse me, because of the fact I really almost said back in my day, there wasn't any characters that look like me. So I do understand the significance of how black characters matter, and representation matters. But I didn't like the fact that we had to skin swap with Ariel. And this ain't the first offense with this. And sometimes it works where, like Nick Fury, where the character that was boo boo butter, and not a damn soul really cared. And Samuel L. Jackson, well, some people probably cared, but the alarming majority loved Sam Jack as Nick, and his show is about to come out on Disney Plus. I was just about to cancel my Disney Plus too, and I'm behind on a lot of shows on Disney Plus. But I was just about to cancel Disney Plus um, because of the fact, well, I look up and I'm Crunchyroll, Disney Plus, Netflix. Like, damn, I cut cable to basically get a new type of cable. But before I go too far down the rabbit hole, what I'm basically trying to get to is it would be so much more productive to have an original character rather than just rehashing an old character. And Frey or Nami from Children of the Zodiac, as well as from Forspoken, are great characters in their own right and their original IPs. But see, the whole smoke and mirrors what a lot of things is, and a lot of us don't really see it sometimes. And I'm not trying to say that I'm some Moogle, Final Fantasy, or some type of guru or nothing like that, because a lot of folks see this as well. I was talking to a homie about it the other day as well, and it's a marketing ploy with things. It's easier when you already have a set base, when you already have a base of people, and Disney already has millions and millions upon millions and millions upon millions of fans worldwide already. So all it has to do is just basically say, we're just going to change the race of this character or something or like this, and black folks or Hispanic or Asian or whichever denomination or ethnic or particular group that they want to target, they're going to say, we're inclusive, we're changing it for you. But why couldn't the prince be black? Why couldn't Eric be black? Disney ain't never had a black prince, not a black prince, not a male black prince. Tiana was from Louisiana. She was a frog for 66, 67% of the movie. I might be giving her too much percentage in there. And Levine, he was from, they just said, let me just put the Latin and the black in one movie. You know, just toss it out there. But, like I said, I ain't better go too far down the rabbit hole on this one. But I will say that I would far rather see, or it would be more productive, and I would rather see just like original black characters. They didn't even have to name, they could have named it Mermaid. And it didn't have to be the Little Mermaid and be exactly Ariel. I see what they were trying to do, but you can't fault Haley Bailey. She, I know the kids, kids is mean. They said that Haley Bailey, when she was a little kid, but you can't blame her for taking the role. I mean, hell, I wouldn't want to be on no damn Popeye's chicken commercial either. And I love me some chicken. I don't like Popeye's chicken, but I would have to think about it. But then, like for real, if they came and said, hey man, you want to do this commercial? And I might have to think about it. Like, honestly. I have yet to see what is this? The multiverse, Spider-Verse? I can't remember the name. It's got a tricky name. I haven't seen that. It's got a tricky name. Back in my day, we only had Spider-Man. Spider and man. He got bit radioactive. Wasn't no goddamn Ben Riley. Jaguar Jackal. I haven't got a chance to see that yet. But they did the same thing with Miles Morales as well. They made him, multicultural, which is, it's just dual inclusive. He is a great character. He is Spider-Man, though. I know it's a multiverse, but could you imagine if Miles Morales was not a Spider-Man, but kind of like how Static Shock was not any other character? And I would like to see more Static Shock. Hopefully they do something else. The homie Nick Draper was working on some Static Shock. I'm not sure if he's still working on Static Shock. But before I go too far and make this a 17-hour thing, I got to get into that meat and potatoes of the whole thing. So forgive me, y'all. Like I said, this is the first one, so I'm rambling a little bit. I get on certain subjects, I get excited. I had some notes written down, but what had happened was is I was like, let me just, this is the coming back. I'm flexing, but y'all can't see it. So, Final Fantasy. This is the first time in history Final Fantasy, two major Final Fantasies are going to be coming out within the year. I'm like Summerfest. Summer Game Fest. I'm saving all my love. My joke is already done because I stuttered with Summer Game Fest. I'm saving all my love for Final Fantasy Rebirth. So I'm gonna talk about that last, but I do want to get into Final Fantasy 16, which I think that it's a smart idea. Which I'm talking about 16, but I'm talking about 7, the Rebirth as well. Because to bring out both games so close together, it's like even if one is mediocre, which I think that 16 has a chance to be more mediocre than 7. Than Rebirth, to be very real with you. Because it's more of a chance. This is what I was just explaining with Ariel, even though it's not a skin swap. Also, but even though I always got to throw this in there, I'm not a big fan of the skin swap. I do want to mod Tyon into Joker for Persona 5. I got ideas. I just want to. I got a couple ideas. I want to just work out. Maybe I do a little gameplay. I think that anyway. I'm not a big fan of it. Like I was saying, that's why I always love what Black Sands is doing, and why I was like, I'm gonna invest in something with Black Sands when he had it open, because it's original Black characters, it's original IPs, and he works with other indie developers and indie comic people, and that's what I was one of his live streams I was asking if he's going to get into video games, and hopefully when he gets into video games, I'll be there. It's a lot of singing this podcast, but that's okay. It's a good time to be able to sit and talk about Zelda and Final Fantasy, and I'm not even talking about Persona 3 because my 1 and 2 got stolen, so I was bitter at the time when 3 came out, so I skipped it. So this is going to be a fresh new experience for me. I don't know what system I'm going to get it for, probably PlayStation, because honestly, if I have to choose on what system I'm going to get for Switch or for PlayStation, PlayStation be running smooth, and them loading screens on that 5, they'd be real good. They'd be real good. Matter of fact, I had to replay. Well, I didn't have to, but I started to replay. That's also was game I was playing. I started replaying Final Fantasy VII R, because I knew I was gonna have to get that ready for the archives before Rebirth came out. When I thought Rebirth was going to be coming out also this year, which is probably going to be out around my birthday, March 23rd, around that time. Like it was in 2020? Was that 2020 already? That quick? That was crazy. That was during the pandemic, the miasma. 16. Final Fantasy 16, regardless with, not having no Black characters in it all, whatever. It's cool. I see. It's not your story, Quentin. It's Quentin. I'm really excited for Final Fantasy 16 because I feel that with Final Fantasy 16, they have a chance to recapture not only the lore of Final Fantasy, but also that hardcore base fan. And it's a lot of us who started around in I started in the 90s, but I remember it in the 80s. I just didn't play it. And to still be a fan now, even with all the, I'm not gonna say none of the Final Fantasies are really bad. Like you know that's debatable. You can argue. None of the Final Fantasies are really bad, but there are a few that stand out. Of course, 7, which is arguably the best. Damn way I said that. Simply the best. 6, which is arguably the best. Simply the best. 4, 9. As much shit as people talk about Titus. 10. So there's some of the ones that are considered like the cream of the crop. Even some of the, you know, of the off spins. Final Fantasy Tactics. I like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance as well. Stranger of Paradise is strangely good. I'm not going to say it's one of the top 10. It might not even make the top 20, but it's a good game. And we, as Final Fantasy fans, you know, even if we still love these Final Fantasy games, we realize that, you know, Lost Odyssey really should have been a Final Fantasy instead of a Final Fantasy that came after. You know, the feel was gone from Final Fantasy, and while Final Fantasy 12 was good at points, it still didn't feel like Final Fantasy. And while 13 looked great and it had its moments, it didn't feel like Final Fantasy. And while 14 really doesn't count as being, you know, a Final, at least in my estimation, in my opinion, Final Fantasy 14, even with the story surpassing, you know, other stories, which is really not fair to compare that particular story, even though I was just talking about comparison earlier, mainly because of the fact that Final Fantasy 14 is an ongoing, like, you know, it gets updates. It's been ongoing since what, 2013, since the PS3. So it's, you know, it's spanned a couple damn consoles and it's still going, you know, so it still has expansions and shit to it. So it's very difficult to compare it. You can, which if you do compare the stories to the other ones, like a standalone 20 to you know 100-hour game or base, you know, 80-hour game to 14, and if it stands that, you know, up against it, story wise, gameplay, and all the other stuff, then you know that damn game is really good, because you know a lot of the Final Fantasies are really good, and a lot of the ones I've already named are very much integrated with being revolutionary in setting the trend for gameplay and graphics, as well as characters and emotions. Final Fantasy always had the feeling to be able to make you basically to feel. And not even if every story was about romance, but each story had heart and it had character into it. And a lot of the ones since the merger, they don't feel the same. And I understand, and we as fans get it, you know, that not everybody, not every fan get it. I'm not gonna say every fan gets it, but you know, the ones who know, you know, we know. And it's kind of like with being a comic book fan, and then they changed all the shit with the movies. You love it for what it is. And that's what I'm getting at. I love Final Fantasy what it is, but it is a noticeable difference. So to tie this whole soliloquy, this whole jumble and rumbling that I was saying about it up, when it comes to that, is we've been waiting for the second coming. Not Final Fantasy VII Remake. We've been waiting for the second coming of a Final Fantasy game that encapsulates graphics, and not only graphics, because again, it's Final Fantasy is synonymous, is known for having some of the best graphics and ushering in, you know, the best graphics on most PlayStations. You know, that was one of their claims to fames. But we're also looking for not just romance. You know, I do want to see that, and it looks like it's going to have some romance or some seemingly type of romance in with some of the main characters, with Clive and I forgot what's her name. I'm been terrible with names tonight, but you know, I'm not even streaming. It's streaming problems. But it looks like it might be some type of romance within the story. We've been waiting for that feeling in the game. Like I thought we were gonna get it with Luna Freya and Noctis, and it felt like that some of the beats were missed. While the game was good, the game looked good, and it had moments. It really felt more like a 20-hour road trip with the homies. And just you talking about a linear game, but you just jumped off the road. I liked it. I enjoyed it. 100 something hours into it. I mean, it's my mo. I just what I do. But I wanted more. You know, like I didn't feel it, and I wasn't the only person. I haven't been the only person who's talked about these things that is the difference, and this is what we want. And Final Fantasy 16 looks like it has some of the suspense and the old school crystal kind of bearing things, but done differently. See, one of the things I thought 12 messed up on was when it took the summons and it changed the lore of it. It made the summon ships. And it was cool, and it probably would have been better if I almost said Zidane, but Zidane is a great character compared to this dude Vaughn. And we know I'm not gonna go through the whole 12 story. We know the whole 12 story, who was the original, who should have been, all that. But he wasn't even an airship. But on 16, it looks like they realized what 15 as well is they started it with a huge. I love that where they're putting these huge summoning creatures, and they're making these summoning creatures the size and proportion that they're supposed to be, while being like central to the story, like how Yuna was with the summons. That's what made Yuna such a great summoner, was because of the fact that they took in the story. That's what got so many people hyped, including myself, about the story, is because they've taken one of the Final Fantasy lore plots, and then they've tied it together inside of the central story. Not all of the Final Fantasies do that. Even 7, and as much as I love 7, they didn't fully explain why the Knights of the Round were trapped inside the material. We got how material was made, and we seen how it was crystallized, and then we seen some of the ether flow and even some of the mist. Didn't they have mist? I could have sworn it was some mist in some of those caves and stuff. We seen how some of that transpired, but we didn't see how. I think were they monsters? But anyway, some of the best games in not only Final Fantasy, but especially in its own lore, is when they'll pull something from within the lore, especially like the summons, and they'll build a story around it. And just from the trailers and from the outskirts of it, it looks like we seeing some Game of Thrones with some Attack on Titans, and you have 7 different warring places, and it's in a medieval setting. Yeah, medieval setting again. But it's 7 different warring nations, and each person basically like they have a titan. So I see one of the reasons, even with myself, at times, you don't want to always closely watch too much of somebody else's stuff when you're writing something to something, because sometimes it can kind of look or sound like something else with you. Not that it's just the source material, but you can get a seed from it. But every story's been told before, so I'm interested to see what this one and how this one takes and goes to. It's as much as they showed in the trailers and stuff, and I didn't get a chance to watch the full RPG Fan had a couple weeks ago, or it might have just been a week ago, like 5 hours or 6 hours of gameplay that they were able to release and that is seen. I didn't want to watch it because I didn't want to watch too much of it. Like I had kind of did that with Tears of the Kingdom a little bit too. I wanted to go in a little bit blind with this. Um, and I wanted to play it more so for enjoyment than going in with a critical view of it. And sometimes when you do YouTube and Twitch, and you've taken classes or did certain things, you go and you look or you watch so much of this media and stuff, you go into it, with a certain bias. And I'm not necessarily a bias, but you go in with a critical eye where you don't like when I go to the movies, let me give you an example. I take a notepad because I write. And I have, even though I just said about, source, but I write. So what happens is a lot of times I'll write and I'll take an idea, oh, I could fit that in with such and such, such. But every now and again, I like to just watch something and watch something really good that just like fully, you know, swoops me, takes me off of my feet. It makes me feel a feeling of fantasy, or it brings me into that world. And Final Fantasy, it had that every great Final Fantasy I've played made me really not want to play anything else until I beat that Final Fantasy. I might play some Smash Bros. With the homies, or some of that Mario Kart, or some of them other 64 games or something like that at the time. But get my ass kicked in some Guilty Gear because the homie had Guilty Gear. He was on them hot ones way before I was like playing Guilty Gear. But I did know about Saul Bad Guy. I was like bad guy, Saul Bad Guy, and Key. But damn, that was a good game, a good era for games too. And this is a good era for games too. Now it's so much games now, and at least as an adult you can afford them, or at least you can, you can get more than when you was a kid and you just had to wait. Um, but Final Fantasy always had this ability to make you, feel that you were in their world. The world building was very excellent, even if it was linear. Even if you were going from point A to point B, it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey, literally. When you're playing a game, like even Zelda, for instance, and this even goes to harken to my own point that I was saying earlier, the gameplay is the journey. What are you doing in this world? What are you getting? Where are you banking? What are you doing? In that world. And that's the fun of it. I still need a little more story on Nintendo, but that's what I think so many of us have hope with Final Fantasy 16, because it feels like some of the moves that they've made, that it's going to be a really good game. I'm hopeful for it. I went on a limb with Final Fantasy 13 so much because Tetsuya Naruma, and I was like, this is his. So he did Kingdom Hearts. This is his first time. He was on 7. He was the main artist on there. He's out there. He's out there with them other boys, and stuff like. And then I just wasn't feeling it. The character design was amazing, but yes, Final Fantasy X was linear, was a straight shot, but it was the journey. Did y'all really? Did y'all? Not only did Final Fantasy X have one, like, it had multiple, like big spoilery points. It had multiple, like big plot turns. Like it had multiple. So did 7. So did 8. So did it's so many big, and that's what 15 didn't have that. 12 didn't have that. 13 didn't have that. Like, when you're going through different series of the and damn, well, that's that uncovered, because when it's a secret or something, that's like even with real life, it's never just one thing. It's a series of things that, like how they always say that one lie is never just one lie. It always adds up to another lie. But I really think that Final Fantasy 16 is going to be one of the ones. I'm hoping. I don't know if it's going to give me that old Final Fantasy feeling, but I am. I just I went in with 12 initially, but I didn't beat it, and then I finally beat it last year, and then I played. I still haven't beat 13 because I don't know. It's hard. I watched a homegirl beat it, and I was like, you didn't beat it for the both of us, because it's hard for me. I don't think she's beaten 12, but it's hard for me to beat 13. I bought it again. I think did I get it for the Xbox? I don't know if I got it for the Xbox or for the PlayStation. I might have it for both, but I have to play it. It might be better optimized. It might be better optimized. optimized on the PC. I know they probably got it for PC. But before I go any further, we got to get into this Final Fantasy Rebirth. I got to close it out with Final Fantasy Rebirth because I'm looking at the time. I don't want to take up all y'all time and be sitting here talking for 176 minutes. I'll just do 176. I was trying to say I'll do 175, but 76 just came to mind. Now, as much excitement as I have for Final Fantasy 16, there's even more for Final Fantasy VII-R. I would far rather, and I think both games are going to be good, but if there was a poll somebody had ran on Twitter, I want to say a couple months ago now, it's been a while. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Final Fantasy 16 be good, or would you rather have Final Fantasy Rebirth be good? And I'd rather have Rebirth be good because Final Fantasy 7 we already know was one of the best on the top RPGs of all time. And I'm counting all RPGs together. JRPG, ARPG, WRPG, whatever RPG all of them. Top 10. It's very hard, and I'm going from just not only the longevity that the series has, but also just the fact that even like just for example, the remake quite possibly is the best remake of all time. It took the original story and fragmented it. It fragmented it into a way where there's gonna be some spoilers here, y'all. This is some Final Fantasy VII theory stuff. So if you haven't played the remake, this is the time that you might want to leave the room. Put the kids. I'll give you a moment. Put the kids to sleep and then come on back now, baby. So after the trailer dropped, I was working, so I didn't get a chance to see the full Summer Game Fest. I had to actually go back and catch up on it, but I did get a chance to come in right on, it was a blessing, right at the end, literally almost maybe 15 20 minutes before, maybe 15, I might be giving it too much leeway, before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth dropped. And it was such a bombshell that this is what I've been waiting for. The only thing I can say that I was so excited, I was pacing when I seen it. I was so excited I was pacing, and I try not to get overly hyped about games. Like I didn't really get overly hyped about 7, the remake, because I was scared. It's been it's sad to say, you don't want to be, you want to be even keel. At least that's how I want to be. I don't want to be too up. I don't want to be too down, because if I get too hyped, I'm gonna have my feelings hurt. Then if I'm too low, then what's gonna happen is it's gonna be, my expectations will be slightly dampened. So again, like I'm trying to do that with Final Fantasy 16. Just go in with an open mind. I did my best to do that with Tears of the Kingdom, but I kind of had a feeling what type of game from just, and that was also, like I said, from watching so much footage and trailers and stuff of it. It kind of numbed my senses to a degree, so I kind of knew it was going to happen a little bit when it came to what kind of game I was going to be getting into. And I've watched the trailer so many times on the Rebirth that it's really bringing up the old mysteries in Final Fantasy VII-R, just Final Fantasy Remake, and just Final Fantasy VII whole multiverse timelines theory, which, let me see if I can explain it. I'll probably like timestamp this, so then that way I can put like a little bumper or something up. So while that part I will edit in, because this needs to be seen while I'm talking about it, because this is some old Kingdom Hearts style shit. So just to fast track a little bit about it, is there was a point in the English version of the trailer where Tifa, when she's in her cowboy outfit, she runs up to Sephiroth and is screaming and hollering about how Sephiroth, he had killed her father and that he, burnt her whole town down. And that is when he sliced her, which they never showed in her adult face. He hit her. Does she still have that cut, or does she healed up? But that was the Masamune. That's a 6-foot blade. So it's like 5'11" without the hilt. That's a long ass sword. That was bigger than her body, and to hit her like that's, even though he did it casually. But while he was talking to her, he said some very ominous, strange things that myself and a few friends and people, we kept going back to, and it was like, or what he said was, that I killed her. Then who is she? And the way he said it at first, when I first couple of times I heard it, I was kind of like, I let it pass. But then, when you go back and listen to it again, he said it almost in the form of a question. So then what I did is I turned on the captions, and I turned on the captions to see if it was a question mark in the captions, to see if he was asking a question, because the question he was posed to, or one of the theories that I had, is because if Zack lived in one of the timelines that we've seen at the end of the game, if he lives in one of the timelines, then that means that it's an equivalent exchange. Aerith might not die in that timeline, but then that means Tifa might die in this timeline. That's been one of my theories since this whole thing started. And then we remember that some of the original people that was there from Final Fantasy, it wasn't Hinabaru, but it was I forgot somebody else. Who else it was? Forgive me, I don't have my geek facts in front of me at the moment. But some of the other head honchos and stuff that were there um, told the people who were writing the new game or doing the new one, like, just scratch it, do everything. I'll have to find an article for that too. But y'all can Google this. This is it's like an interview when the game happened. The new heads wanted to keep the purity of the old story when they were originally doing Final Fantasy VII Remake. But the old heads basically were like, y'all just do your own kind of story. And what it feels like we have is a mixture of both types, if that makes sense, because we might have a timeline where it sticks to the traditional things that actually happened in Final Fantasy VII that came out in 1997. And then with Zack living, and then the tornado that ate up Midgar, because that didn't happen on the original Final Fantasy VII. And then I was watching Maximilian's video a while back, and he was talking about, and I did a thing, and this, and I did a video about this, but I didn't even put two and two together at that time until he said it. But the scenes don't completely mash up, and he questioned it. He goes, well, why don't they mesh up? That's intentional, and the scenes don't mesh up. Like, I put the video is called The First Good 5 Minutes of Final Fantasy, and a Final Fantasy VII in the comparison. And it's certain scenes that change, like the close up of Eric's face. And then that could even be, now that you even think about it, what if they played off of the Eric theme? Because if you remember, out here in America, for those who play, because I just start calling her Eric, we knew that her original name was Aerith, Aerith, but in the West, we called her Eris, which was Aeris. What if Eris dies and Eric lived, but Tifa dies? Or is some kind of equivalent exchange since Zack lived? Something has to give. What if we see that at the end of the, the whole the that Advent children, look, I got excited. The Advent children, how we see that church scene at Advent children. I didn't really like children because it didn't feel like it did anything. I didn't really like it. It just felt like it was 2 years later in the story, but it felt like it did not nothing really moved. Cloud was still the same moody Mako crackhead that he was on Final Fantasy VII. After him and Tifa was wrestling underneath the damn ship, they living together, and they ain't just playing Pinochle. They ain't just playing Chocobo. They living together, you know. So, and he's still thirsting over and hurting over his dead homie's girl. So that might have something to tie into it as well. Maybe that's a shard, or like, what do they call the people have been calling the plot ghost? Because I thought that was a trip with the plot ghost when you first played Final Fantasy VII R. And see, I like I said, I was doing this for the archives, and then I didn't realize how great of a game Final Fantasy VII Remake was. Until I knew it was good, but I didn't give it its due credit. I was kind of like, this is what I was saying before, like you can numb yourself or desensitize yourself by watching reviews or other things, or even it wasn't even so much me watching reviews and stuff of other people or other things. It was more so this is one of my all-time favorite games. It's like my 1A game, 1B game. Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII are my two favorite games. So I was scared. So and the game delivered more of what I was expecting it to do than it fleshed out a lot of things, and it gave us more. So one of the things that Maximilian was talking about, and other things that you can look at and note, not everything is exactly the same. Like Jessie living, which she's popular. We like Jessie. Wedge, no, is Wedge living? Biggs is living. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. Biggs is living. I think so. A lot of things changed. And then I was watching a video when somebody mentioned about Aerith, how she said, how did she know who Marlene was? And then as we see from the trailer, even though they probably just did the voice over Tifa and Aerith talking, but Tifa was asking Aerith where did she think Cloud was. And I really do like, just in the whole series of the, that Tifa, they gave each character more depth. Like Tifa really acting like somebody woman. She really questioned this dude. She really was respectful to him too. She was real ladylike. She was like, okay, I'm not going to embarrass you out here in front of Biggs and Wedge, but I am going to pull you to the side, bruh. Where was you at 5 years ago? Because we ain't talked about it. You just popped up with a big ass sword, which also we can see where these two stories, because in one timeline, the 97 Final Fantasy, the Buster Sword that's the one I like. The original OG Buster Sword. And then there's the one that was it Ansel had, right? From Crisis Core. So let me bring up this list here, which is timeline, because I was doing all that talking and I still didn't bring up the timeline. And I'll do my best for those of y'all who are listening to this to and don't get a chance to see it here on YouTube. I'll do my best to try to talk it out so you can visual it out. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to go through the main parts, because it's a lot from this theory, and you can find this easy just by putting Final Fantasy VII timeline theory in just like Google Images or wherever you get your local browsing from. So it starts in Crisis Core. And I've even seen one list had it be in Before Crisis, which I liked it to include that too, because that was the one where the Turk story was the mobile game. I think it was the first mobile game that came out. It was almost 10 years ago now, right? And that's where you got a chance to see all of them. That's when they also were the original Turks, I think they were going after the original members of Avalanche. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't get a chance to play that one, but I did get a chance to. I didn't play that one or Dirge Cerberus, and now I don't know if I can find Dirge Cerberus. I don't know how much it is. 'Cause if it's expensive, I probably never get it because I've only heard one person play it. I mean, I would just be playing it just for nostalgic reasons because I can just wiki it. But the story starts. I'm gonna go with Before Crisis, which was gonna say before Crisis Core, which happened 7 years away from the original '97 story. So, um, in Crisis Core, the Neblaham incident happens, and then that's where it is a crossroad in one of the timelines that goes for a timeline fracture. It says when Cloud and his party destroys the Harbinger's singularity, it undoes all the Harbinger's actions in that time. However, undoing this mass correction would result in it made a timeline fracture. So, but let me get to all fast forward to it. I want to get to because it's what the list shows is certain singularity points that happen because the whole debate was, well, what was it that happened? Because some people believe that it's not multiple timelines, that it's just one timeline, but the way that the story is shaping and the way even Aerith is talking and narrating the story almost, and how she even told Cloud in the beginning of the story that she didn't say that in the original that you give this to lovers. It was like she already knew, and then she even said Zach's name as well. I don't did she? Yes, she did say Zach's name on the original as well, and he had his glitch. He had the Mako glitch. So they have it where this list says that Aerith sends herself back, and they did spell her name Aeris, so that does have something to do with it. It says Zach in one before that Zach dies in one timeline. That's when he gives Cloud the Buster Blade, and then Aerith sends her consciousness back in time. Well, this was confusing for me to sit here and read on this. At this moment, let me give the main facts. I'm trying to see where exactly this one says that the timeline broke. It looks like it's the bombing mission. Because Maximilian had two that he had posted up. Okay, here's one. 6 years ago, before Crisis happened, and then 7 years ago, Crisis Core happens, and then Final Fantasy VII happens, which is 5 years later, and then 2 years later after that, this is the original timeline, the 1997 timeline. 3 years later after that, that's with the events of Dirge Cerberus. But during the events between Final Fantasy VII, that's where it's called the After Future, and that's where the time fracture broke. So in between is saying Crisis Core and Final Fantasy VII is where the After Future, where I'm thinking where they were saying that Aerith either went back through the live stream or Sephiroth have went back through the live stream. It's really no concrete. All these are theories, so it's really no concrete evidence on what exactly happened and how we got to this point. But it is kind of fun to wiki how these kind of theories. And I did do the air quotes when I said that. So 7 years ago, Crisis Core happened on this timeline as well, and then Final Fantasy Remake happened. But from the events with Final Fantasy Remake, where it looks like where the plot ghosts happen and everything, they cut the Avid Children didn't exist, and neither did Dirge Cerberus. Those on this timeline are considered canon, and the new timeline happens where it seems like where we're seeing from the end of Intergrade, where the whole party is outside and they're getting ready to go to the city of Calm, and then it's saying that there's an unknown journey on that timeline, and at the end of it they got Sephiroth, and then on one from the Crisis Core alternate timeline is the one that at the same time. So it's 3 timelines on together, but this one actually has 4. Um, the alternate timeline, Zach is still alive. Now I know that's a whole bunch because even saying this, I re-confused myself, and I ain't going back and edit. We ain't editing no podcast. We going straight up and straight in. But it's so much, and this is one of the reasons why I was saying that it's for me it's more exciting that about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth than it is for 16, and I think that it is a great thing because we eating good. We eating real good with these games. Breath of the Wild 2, aka Tears of the Kingdom. We keep calling it Breath of the Wild 2. That's not intentional. That's not intentional. Forgive me, Zelda. But she still somewhere lost in some other realm. We about to get 2 Final Fantasies. And then Square Enix dropped so many games last year. Harvestella, Forspoken, earlier this year. Star Ocean 6. And then they had dropped. Look at a Front Mission comes out next week. It's so many games and stuff, and that's just from Square Enix, like Persona 3. It's so many games. Look at Metal Gear is getting remakes. It's so many games out here. Really, it's unnecessary for us to be arguing and debating with birds online, because there's a lot of good games to be played. There's a lot of bad ones to be played too, but there's so many games. It's like it's remember how PlayStation flooded the market. For those of y'all who remember how PlayStation did the market, we did it that as well too. Is they made so many games that even if it was 10 games, it was somebody's going to be at least 1 or 2 is going to be somebody's favorite. It was going to be somebody's favorite game. But I talked for over an hour. I don't want to keep y'all for too much of me rambling and not having this fully structured. So I appreciate any and every of y'all who have made it all the way to the end. I don't think I'm going to name this 001. I might go for the number it is. I think this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm not sure exactly what podcast number this is. I might have to go back and look. Like I said, we going in it to win it. That's not exactly what I said, but I'm not about to do no edit. We're going to slap some gameplay and some goodies on this, and then we going to go from there. So again, I do appreciate y'all. If you do want to stay up to date with all things games and geek, with not as many interludes and transitions and hour-long ramblings, I do news, reviews, parodies, dinners, I made it. I do a lot of just, geekly content, mostly in these RPGs. I do want to start talking about Nintendo a little bit more, but because they do have some RPGs, if you please, but we'll see. Probably just the RPGs. I will be having the archive series, which is going to be like the 12-hour block, coming back soon. I will let y'all know. You can find me over on Twitch, but basically all the sociables on The Geek Show, at The Geek Show. Excuse me, I said on The Geek Show, at The Geek Show. I will holler at y'all later. Please don't forget to like and subscribe before your way out. And as always in the web, remember to eat, sleep, geek, repeat. Talk to y'all later. Peace. Longest time, I wasn't being legit or for real with myself either, because that was a part of me. And even though I was doing it in secret. And then it just hit me. And that's when it hit me. And that's when I became a geek. Finally, the sleeper has awakened. I am the prince of all geeks once again.